So you have no information as to what Mr. Barano said at this sort of rather important meeting.
No, sir, I wasn't there.
Okay. Did you get any interview report from Mr. Hubbard?
He didn't offer and I didn't ask.
Okay. But you've never seen one?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, I just want to be sure that you have never heard of the fact that John Barano told Mr. Hubbard that he and Cameron Herron were not racing.
I wasn't there. I don't know what was said.
Okay. So in other words, you don't know anything about it?
Correct.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You read, Brett?
No, you're.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, one, just yes. All right. Say we'll call Pam Reisinger.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth and the truth and nothing but the truth? Will you please have a seat?
Whatever you're ready. Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Pamela Reisinger.
And Ms. Reisinger, what was your relationship to Jessica and Lilia?
Jessica was my daughter. Lilia was my granddaughter.
And is there something that you want to tell the court that the court should consider prior to rendering a sentence in this case?
There is. We've heard a lot today about qualities in a person. And my daughter and my granddaughter possessed all those qualities too. You say actions speak louder than words. They were active in what they presented in their life. Jessica went on several mission trips. She started programs in Girl Scouts. She got her Gold Award. They say right to life. She had that baby. Every action she did was kind and whole. The words she wore in her shirts, the bracelets she wore represented who she was. Her graduation cap was all about love and kindness. And when I hear about listening to your child wake up with screams in the middle of the night for a few months, we're going on 3 years and we hear those screams. They can comfort their child. They can go to them and hug them. I go to a closet and sniff a t-shirt. I go to a baby picture and stroke her cheeks to comfort her. You hear about remorse and regret and their sympathy. And when they say that they wish they could switch places with them, and we all know that's not possible, if you're willing to switch places with them, why aren't you willing to do your sentence? It's still your life. You hear about 18-year-old boys that are careless and boneheaded, by his teacher's words, not of Cameron, but of other students, and that Cameron was bright. I've raised 2 sons that were 18-year-olds, and yes, they might have been a little immature, but they know consequences. I'm a preschool teacher, and my 4- and 5-year-old class has mostly boys. Yes, they're a little more immature. But it's our duty, it's our job to teach them how to learn the rules, how to function in society, and that consequences are always there. I think we do a huge disservice to our society if we aren't willing to teach those lessons. You know, we have our faith too. We also are Catholics. And I do believe that there is still forgiveness, but I also believe that there's a price to pay. I think the city of Tampa, when they had the memorial, but afterwards we had to watch for the rooftop because there were so many families there and babies and strollers. I think they were calling for justice, calling for their safety and their family's safety. You know, we also have a perspective on this. So I don't want to seem that I don't feel for the Heron family. I do. But their perspective on what they've lost can't compare to two sweet souls crossing the street coming home from a parking lot. They weren't residents here. The Herons are residents here. They drove up that street every day. I can't believe that living in that area, there wasn't an awareness that people cross that street. There wasn't an awareness that those speeds kill. That's why we have speed limits. It's for all of our safeties, and if we don't abide by that, what are we telling our community? I really have nothing else to say.
If there's anything else that you want to present, why don't you tell the court how old was Jessica when she passed?
Was she 23? I've lost track of time.
It's okay, around 23, 24, I heard from the audience.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay. And what about Lillian?
Lily wasn't even 2.
And at that time, did you have any other grandchildren at that time?
Yes, I have 2 grandsons. Henry and Charlie was just a baby. He was just born.
And did those two would have been cousins of Lilia, correct? And did they ever get the opportunity to see or be around Lilia?
They did, yes. They were with her quite often. And you know, when you look in your 5-year-old grandson's eyes, and he asked you when God is going to be done with Jesse and Lilia, and that can they come back to play? And you have to tell him no, they aren't coming back.
Ms. Reiser, how has this affected you? We heard from the Heron family how it's affected him. How's it affected your health, and how has it affected your everyday life after this?
There's a lot of anxiety in our house. We all jump when we hear the phone. Our phone buzzes or rings, and it's not an expected call. We always waiting for the worst news. My son, Dan, has been suffering from health issues. Michelle's been suffering from health issues. David's been suffering from health issues. And we just keep waiting. These past 3 years, we've been waiting and waiting, and it's like we've been led on constantly. And that stress level in our bodies has taken a toll.
Is there anything else you want to say prior to the court determining a sentence in this case?
Judge, I have 4 children. And when people ask me the common courtesy question when they meet you, how many children do you have? You have to stop and think of your answer. You know, I have 4 beautiful children. but there's only 3 of them now. I just think that in raising children to be functioning members of society, I think there's hard lessons to be learned along the way. And I don't see how there can be a lesson learned if there's not a just punishment. And I just hope that everybody sees it's not for the wanting to see them suffer, but it's for wanting the lesson to be learned.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have for Ms. Reiser.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, next, the state's going to call David Ravenel.
Your Honor.
Raise your hand.
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm humbled to be in your presence. Thank you for hearing us.
David, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to the...
Good afternoon. My name is David Robinault. I'm Jessica Marie Reisinger Robinault's husband and Lilia's father, Lilia Marie Robinault's father. To be honest with everyone here today, this may be the most difficult moment for me in order to put my words together of the plaguing effects of this. I want your forgiveness if my points seem repetitive and redundant. It seems like it's a consistent pattern in my mind when I think of the effects of May 23rd, 2018. You know, I like to talk back and forth about my wife and the amount of people that she impacted in an uplifting and positive way, and it's truly impossible to count that. You know, my survivor's guilt far outweighs any remorse that's in this room by everyone involved. I've seen folks talk about the defendant's character and his age. And to be honest with you, I don't believe it's fair for every young man and young woman to be defined as reckless or mischievous or of bad behavior based on age. At 18 years old, I was surrounded by many 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds, as most of us do in high school. We have decisions early on whether to be involved in extracurricular activities or not, to be to be friends with people, or to be a recluse. I have to tell you that I have met extraordinary people that have grown into their 20s that have never wavered and changed in their excellence. Their continuity to become better people was always a consistent factor in their life. It's hard for me to put the words together because even the way I talk now is affected by trauma. And it's clear as day. To the point where I like to start talking more about my wife and circle back around to why it's impossible to put the words together, to even find the right flow to introduce this statement to you, sir. The importance is that my wife lit up my world and that of anyone she met. It became fiercely dark after she was removed from this earth. She studied nutrition and dietetics in college and was the founder of the Kent State Charge chapter, which promotes health and fitness for women. It is an organization that opens its arms to anyone who seeks to improve their health and searches for camaraderie. This group included everyone from all walks of life and of all ages. You weren't too young or too old to be in the program. Shortly after this, it became the largest chapter of this organization and part of her legacy. She was the center of the group and the emotional support of anyone who needed it. She made me better. She was exemplary. She was a student athlete. She continued this all the way through her graduation. I'd like to add that I don't have very many tears for you. I have wept every single day for the past 3 years. I've had to see doctors at Tampa General look at me in despair and say, this is a level of grief that is at an unmeasurable scale. Let us not forget that these are two young men against a young mother and a baby, a child, an innocent child. You've made me regret so many things. You fill me with remorse. What is the price of our family's humiliation to you? The actions, your actions, of the defendant, Cameron Herring, have created further visceral damage to all who love and cared for her. You inserted so much uncertainty into this community, and that of everyone who loved them. You dare request a chance to live out your dreams when you eliminated all of mine and theirs. Rehabilitation. I don't really believe that you have sought rehabilitation. I think you have sought a lack of accountability. You've shown zero remorse. And your selfish behavior ranges all the way to a fatal state. I like to compare 18-year-olds and those who hold high responsibility at that age. I know many young men and women who have entered the service and have proudly served their country with intense, extreme responsibilities, one that can be shared with men of any age in their 20s, potentially higher. These young men are entrusted with the ability and responsibility to make the right decision. I can't compare you to these men. In fact, when I look at your friends, I'm concerned for them. Because your leadership is one that falters and fails. I've had to hear many things from conversations that were had by the defendants and their parents, ranging from being inside the patrol vehicle to moments after when they were in jail. It was very clear and obvious that you began to communicate amongst each other your quick and expeditious retrieval from jail. I want you never to forget that you have caused thousands of people to cry. I want you to think about that. For 30 years, the vigil alone that was held by the beautiful mothers and family members of Tampa Bay, Florida, was an honest reminder that we do not stand for your behavior, and we will not tolerate it. At an early age, I recognized a few things. Any misconduct would jeopardize my ability to create a career and thus hinder my ability to provide and shelter my family. The entire sequence of my late teens and 20s was always consistent. I knew at a very early age that there were different types of adults. The shy, the anxious, the motivated, the pacifist, the mature, the immature. One thing, however, is certain. I believe the vast majority of them knew right from wrong. The difference was some of them continued on with their mischief, even with that knowledge. This, folks, is when we separated the good from the bad. There is a threshold, a clear meridian between right and wrong. We can discuss anything here. Your integrity, your grit, your faith, and your actions, and they all disappoint me. Any person of good heart and faith would not have initiated your reckless actions of that day, fatal actions of that day. I could not protect my family from you because you chose to ignore the laws of this great state. By ignoring this, you selfishly made my family expendable. Based on your actions the past 3 years, I firmly believe you still deny accountability. 30 years from now, I will be 59 years old, almost 60. My daughter would have been close to 33 years old. My wife would have been close to 56. Based on her great health, 0 vices, and great self-care, I am certain that she would have made it to old age in perfect health. We would be enjoying the fruits of our labor and the expansion of our family. We would feel secure because we leave behind descendants. Your actions and decisions that day created an extinction within our species. Our youngest and most need of protection was removed. It is critical for you to understand that you've created everlasting pain and depths of sorrow. Because of your existence, 2 beautiful, innocent lives were denied a full life. You eliminated their voices from this earth, this time and space. You left me without access to the treasures of my heart. You left me here as a widower and childless father. Your actions terrorize me and haunt me to this day. I had to carry their ashes in a box. I'll never forget the faces of the people in our Catholic Church during their funeral service. They realized that we didn't have coffins for them, but rather a small box that I was to push at the end. It became clear then to most